What if you could get arbitrage, co-hosting, and even ownership leads for Airbnbs without having to cold call, without having to spend money, without having to network your face off and save a bunch of time? Tristan Petricca is going to share with us how to do that here on the Fearless Investor Podcast. Hey, Team Fearless, I just want to take a quick break from this podcast to talk about funding your furnishings. If you're listening to the Fearless Investor Podcast, then you probably want to do the Airbnb arbitrage model. Reason being, it's a low barrier of entry, right? $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to buy furniture with someone else's property. And sure, you can use your own bank account or you can raise the money at a low interest rate from a friend or family member. But wouldn't you rather get that money at 0% interest, aka free money? That's what my friends at Pathway Financial can do for you. Pathway Financial helps people like you get 0% interest credit cards so you don't have to have the financial stress of putting down a ton of money up front for your deals. Think about that for a second. How many arbitrage deals could you do if money was not a concern? Well, that could be the exact possibility with Pathway Financial's help. Get a free quote from them today. Go to fearlesskyle.com/pathway financial to find out how much you can get pre-approved for right now. And don't worry, it won't have any impact on your credit score because it's a soft inquiry. So go once again to fearlesskyle.com/pathway financial and get that free quote. Hey everyone, welcome into the Fearless Investor Podcast. You're listening to me, Kyle Stanley. And if you know anything about what I teach, it is all about how to have conversations with landlords to position yourself as the best option for that landlord. And you do anything you can to get that first deal, cold calling, networking. But one thing that we've really never talked about is digital marketing. Why? Because I'm not a digital marketing expert. I've never used digital marketing. I don't know what SEO is all about. I don't know how to do all that. And guess what? Now you don't have to know how to do that if you want to get leads that way and get them for free. Tristan Petricca is going to give us some very simple steps on what you could do with even a Google business online for free to start getting leads coming to your website and start getting your phone ringing without having to spend really any money at all. So Tristan is going to teach us that right now here on the Fearless Investor Podcast. Let's get to it right now with Tristan. Hey guys, welcome into the Fearless Investor Podcast. We got Tristan Petricca with us. He's a good friend of mine. We just spent some time in Cabo together with a bunch of other high-level operators in Airbnb, but this guy is doing things a lot different. And the cool thing about today is that Tristan's going to show you how to be able to get leads for co-hosting, arbitrage, maybe even owning properties without having to pick up the phone and doing cold calling. We're not going to be talking about networking and going to meetup groups. We're not talking about doing all the uncomfortable things that take a bunch of time. And we're also not talking about spending money today either, Tristan. So I'm excited to just kind of blow the cap off of all this because you are doing this and you're one of the only ones that's doing this out there. But before we get into all that, man, thanks for being here. Excited to go over all this with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it and can't wait to share it.
All right, cool, man. Well, before we do, you've been in the short-term rental industry for a while. So why don't you go ahead and let everyone know what's that craziest or funniest short-term rental story that you've got?
There's been a few out here in Arizona. We had Super Bowl. So, we had some interesting times with that. But I would have to say that the craziest thing I've ever seen in this industry, my cleaner hit me up one day and said, there's something in the sink I think you need to see at a property. And I said, all right, just send me a photo. And when they sent me the photo, it was a big sink and it was literally full with bullets.
Whoa!
With ammo, just like they were washing
unused, I'm assuming.
Yep, just fresh pile of ammo. Just checked out with a sink full of ammo. So
and they'd already checked out.
Oh yeah, they'd already checked out. Yeah, they were gone. They were like, "What do we do with it?" I'm like, I'll send someone."
I swear, sometimes like guests are just like, let's just screw with every host we can possible. We had one, and I posted about it on Instagram. We had one where they had a blow up doll, but in a garbage bag taped. So it looked like it was a dead body. So the cleaner went to like kick it. And when she kicked it and there was like no weight to it, she was like, oh, that's actually kind of funny.
Oh my God.
Oh, people, man. All right. Well, that's a great way to start us off. And I'm glad that those bullets weren't used or else we might have a different story to share here. Well, Tristan, man, tell us about your journey to short-term rentals. What were you doing before you ever got into this business?
So yeah, it was an interesting journey. So basically after college, I wanted to get into, go to grad school. And first I wanted to be in the FBI as an investigator and or psychologist. And so, I was looking down going to school and maybe Boston, maybe San Diego. Ended up wanting to go to San Diego. So at the time, I was also just bartending to get cash and whatnot. Moved to San Diego, started looking at schools, kept bartending, and then decided to just kind of hold off on school for the time being, for at least a year. And that's when a regular at the bar I worked at was in digital marketing and said, "Hey, if you ever get sick of this job, you should check out digital marketing." So I kind of went down the rabbit hole there and applied for an entry level position at that company, and basically BS my way through the interview. Fake it till you make it. He taught me like a handful of code while we drank some whiskey, and then I went into the interview, got the job, and learned everything that I needed to know. Basically, was just getting yelled at on the phone, as customer support. And then I climbed the ladder up through to senior account manager. I was managing about 70 to 80 SEO and pay-per-click clients. And that's kind of when I fell in love with digital marketing. And so I've been doing that now for just over a decade and just absolutely fell in love with it. But obviously from bartending and other hospitality gigs that I've had over the years, I worked at ski resorts and things like that. I've always loved the hospitality industry and dealing with people, getting to talk to people and learn about their experiences and make their experience with us better than everyone else. So then when I came upon my mentor, Mike Sjogren, doing his podcast, or he was doing a free webinar. And for those who don't know, Mike and I went to college together. We played lacrosse together. He was a captain of the team. So I just kind of popped in to say hi to him. And then as I sat and learned about, wow, you can, co-host and make a good living off of this kind of side gig. That's when I realized like the light bulb moment of I'm really good at digital marketing. I've always been in hospitality. Why don't I just combine these into this new industry that I'm learning about? And that was the end of it.
That's awesome. But as I know about your story, it didn't start really that way. You weren't really using the digital marketing side right away. You were kind of going down the same route that a lot of us were doing with jumping on Zillow, jumping on cold calling. How was that going?
That's right. Yeah. So initially, going through the course and learning like, okay, there's hot pads and Zillow and make phone calls. So I immediately got into like a pod, an accountability pod. And, we basically talked about how to get leads. I made multiple scripts for, calling people for rent by owner and trying to talk them out of a long-term rental into like, an arbitrage or a co-host. And I was making probably 25, 30 plus calls a day and just getting absolutely nowhere.
Wow.
And so I luckily I only did that for about probably less than a month, I would say, before I got really frustrated.
Do you think it was just like looking back on that, and because you hear people all the time, right? Like, oh, my first phone call I made, they said yes. And then other people are like, I made 200 phone calls and I never got a yes. What do you think, like looking back on those calls, was the reason that you just weren't feeling the cold calling route?
I think it was my background has never been in sales. So
Sure.
I think there was obviously some opportunity there for a closer to close. And I guess I just didn't have that skill set to understand where we were at in that sales process of like, hey, ask for the sale or whatever, that next process was. So I feel like, that was kind of the hang up on some. And then others was just kind of not fully grasping the industry, getting hung up on people's questions. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? And I was just learning the process of this. Yeah. I didn't even have a property yet, so I didn't know how to confidently answer their question.
Okay.
Like
so, yeah. So how long did you try that for till you were just like, man, screw this, I'm going to try digital marketing instead?
Yeah, I'd say probably like 4 to 6 weeks. And then even still, after I got the digital marketing going, I would still like check in on hot pads, see if there was really a good opportunity, give it step up to the plate a few times and see if I could do it a little bit better, through the repetition. But I'd say probably after 6 months, I said, I'm not doing this anymore, like zero at all.
Okay. And then digital marketing, what did you start doing? How did you start doing that? And what were the results?
Yeah. So I knew when I started and I created my LLC and got all that stuff kind of organized, that's when I started. Like, I know I need a brand. So I need to be able to call these people and tell them, hi, my name's Tristan Petricca. I'm with Sojourn Properties, blah, 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 blah. So I knew I had to create that because they're going to turn to Google and be like, is this dude legit? Or, what's the deal? So created my logo, built a website with just basic pages, homepage, about us, services, like overview services, and a contact us page with a form. And so that's where I started at. And then I slowly kind of built it up, and I went through building out my Google business profile, which we'll get into in a little bit. And then really just started trying to provide value to people and build up Google reviews. And that was the main ticket. But it was really just getting the website started and letting that build traction with the search engines.
So you build a website, get on Google, get some reviews. How quickly did you get your first yes after that?
I think it was about go from month 2 to 3, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I believe I started in December, and I think it was like February 3rd or 4th. I got the email lead through my website with the person who ended up being my first co-host deal.
Nice. Now, how many do you have today, just co-hosting?
Today, we have 13 co-hosts.
Okay.
Last year, I got up to as many as 34. And then I realized that not all properties are alike. Not all owners are alike. They're not all good.
You majorly scaled back. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We pumpkin planned. If you haven't read that book, we pumpkin planned the business, and the numbers haven't changed. In fact, they've gone up.
Wow.
So it was more about finding the right properties, keeping my sanity, and being able to focus on those big time properties instead of all the rinky dink ones and running around like a chicken with my head cut off.
I'm writing a note down on that because I want to come back to that.
Sure.
But I don't want to go off topic too much. Let's talk about that journey from 0 to as many as 34. You're telling me every single one of those leads that turned into a deal originated through digital marketing?
I would say a large portion of it. And what's funny is, as I built my presence, so I knew when I looked at, so I have, from the digital marketing side, I own a digital marketing agency based out of San Diego. So I have access to a lot of tools and softwares that we use for our clients. Now, everyone listening, you can still go out and get a basic plan at some of those softwares and be able to track your own stuff. But getting at, I was able to look into keywords and look into the competition to see where they were at. Where do I need to get? What's my target? And it looked like my biggest competitor had like 34 reviews on Google at like a 4.3 rating. So I knew, all right, that's my target. If I can get more reviews than them, 5 stars, I own the whole market.
There you go.
In Scottsdale. So it was very clear to see that target. So it was a little bit of that networking stuff because I needed to provide value to others in order to then ask for a review from them. So once I built it and started getting, familiar with the industry and people in the area, getting on Facebook groups, and people would say, hey, what's your tech stack, or what's everyone using? Then I could explain to them what I use, why I use it, why I like it. And dozens of follow-up questions and dozens of people commenting, oh, DM sent. So I had 10, 15, 20 people hitting me up that I was kind of coaching along with the software tech they asked about. And they're like, oh my God, thank you. How can I repay you? Well, you can leave me a Google review if I provided any value to you. So that's kind of how I built up the reviews without like hitting up 50 of my friends, like, hey, leave me a fake review.
Yeah.
So, but that was the main thing. And then as people heard about me, I would get phone calls of, hey, my friend or my realtor, James Jones said to call you. He said, you're the best in the area. I've never talked to James Jones. I don't know who James Jones is. So like people, I think, were like Googling me and then going, this company knows what they're talking about, because that's happened a dozen times where people are like, oh, they referred me, and I have no idea who they is.
So I love this because it's so similar of a story to what I tell people when you go and you make relationships and you go to meetup groups and you become the expert. People start talking about you, and then their friends and then their realtors start talking about you. And before you know it, you get leads from people that you've never even heard of. But what I love about what you're talking about is, I've spent hours upon hours upon hours, hundreds and hundreds of hours going to meetup groups, building relationships. And I still think that's incredibly important. I'm not saying don't do those things, but what I love about what you're talking about is you made a website, which I can hire someone on Fiverr to do.
Yep.
I listed my business on what's it even called? My Google Workplace, or
it was called Google My Business, and they changed it about a few months ago to Google Business Profiles.
Google Business Profiles, but that's free. And then I know you said you didn't really go the route of texting a bunch of friends, but that is a really easy way to just start getting reviews, or maybe going to past clients and saying, hey, can you just leave a quick Google review? You left me a 5-star review on Airbnb. Can you leave me one here? And it sounds very simple, but I'm sure there's some missing pieces here. So what else were you doing to make sure that you were popping up as the expert, as the number one on when people are Googling, short-term rentals or vacation rentals in Scottsdale?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it kind of another light bulb moment hit me when I had corporate housing. I did. All right, let me take a step back. So it's important to understand your keywords. Okay. So you're going to have keywords. And again, they're not all alike. There's going to be different categories, silos, if you will. So you need to kind of identify the silos of your keywords. As much as this may piss off Mark from Boostly, Airbnb is the biggest term. Airbnb property management, Airbnb in Scottsdale, Arizona. I mean, I know as an industry, we're trying to get away from those OTAs and be directly serving our customers. Yes. However, I knew that search volume was big. I didn't have a page for that yet. I had a corporate housing, vacation rental, a short-term rental. So I had pages built out for those keywords, but I realized in that light bulb moment, Airbnb is the top search. Airbnb property management company or property management in Scottsdale, Arizona. So I built out a web page for that as a service page and optimized it for that search term, being the highest volume search term for what I'm trying to get the business from. As soon as I did that, I started tracking all the people that were hitting that page. It very quickly, within a week, it became my highest visited page. And that's really when it skyrocketed. That's when my leads skyrocketed, because then, I matched up what people were searching for and gave them an answer clear as day on Google. This is what we do. This is why we're the best. Get a free property analysis. And then I would run the analysis, send them their pro forma, and schedule a call at the same time. And boom, we were done. We were on. So that was probably, I went from maybe 10 leads a month when I put that page in to probably 40 to 50 leads a month.
Wow. Okay. So talk to me like a second grader. Let's go digital marketing 101.
Sure.
When you say I found those search terms, how are you finding those search terms? What's the process look like if I have never tried to figure out what a key search term is on Google? Where would I go?
So there's a few ways to do it. The cheapest way is what we call don't press enter, or, and basically, or don't press return. And that's basically that autofill feature on Google. When you start typing Airbnb and then see what it spits out. And so as soon as you type Airbnb, P could be property management companies in wherever. So that's one indicator of search volume that's free. And then if you do press enter on that main search term, you can scroll to the bottom and there's going to be people also searched for, and there's going to be a list of other terms that people search for. And so that's a free way or another way to kind of double check those. And then you can go down the rabbit hole of searching all sorts of different things and don't press enter and, you know, all that stuff. There's also software that you can get. SEM Rush is one that we use.
So really quick here, Tristan, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, please.
I want to like really even dumb it down even more because I want people to see this. So some are going to be listening on the podcast, but some are going to be watching this on the YouTube channel. And I really want them to see this. So I'm going to just share my screen right now and do exactly what you were saying. So we've got Google right here, right? Like if I just go, like you said, Airbnb, and then just P, you got Paso Robles, pet friendly.
Yep.
So like one of the things you might say is like, if you're trying to appeal to guests with your website, you might have pet friendly in there.
Yep. Cool. And your location. Or if you start typing kind of property.
So let's just even type in like Phoenix and see what else is in there. So Phoenix AZ with a pool, convention center, downtown experiences, like, and
this is exactly what you would use for a direct booking website. What is the guest looking for? And this is going to be with a pool near the convention center, you know, all that stuff, downtown, long-term. Those are going to be key for that.
Cool. So if I do like Airbnb management, or if I'm doing management companies or management service, these are all key terms that you would use.
I would write those down. Yeah, I would put those into a Google sheet and save those ideas. And then again, kind of continue to go down those rabbit holes. So when you click on that now at the very bottom, what is it offer up for?
Yeah. So I'm in Fresno, so it's automatically trying to get me close to me, right? So list of Airbnb management companies near me,
that's a big one.
companies in the USA, best Airbnb management. But you know what I know about Google is if you press enter, then it starts to learn about you. So your best bet if you do something like this and then want to refresh tomorrow and search something new is to just clear all your cookies, right?
Yeah, that or you could use another browser like DuckDuckGo. Or an incognito window.
Cool. Okay. I just wanted to give people a visual of that so they really could understand. Okay. So you were talking about some softwares now that you
like SEM Rush, they have a keyword magic tool. You type in Airbnb and then it gives you all phrases like that people are searching. You can sort by search volume. And then, you know, basically I just discovered very quickly that Airbnb management companies or the ones that we saw there, best Airbnb management company, and then just add in your geo tag, so Scottsdale, Arizona, those types of things. So that's basically how I discovered those primary keywords.
Now, did you ever retarget people that were visiting that website with Google ads, with Facebook ads, anything like that?
I did not, but you absolutely could. The reason I did not is cash flow. Okay. I was, you know, I have a growing family and my other business and stuff. And so I was putting time into this business, but I didn't have a ton of capital to drop into a bunch of ads. If you do, that is a great way to get people back to your site and to build your brand because they're going to see you on Facebook. They're going to see you on Instagram, see you all over the place or on the web, on ESPN, when you're looking at scores, they're going to see you all over the place and they're going to remember you. So it is incredibly valuable to do that. I did not. I may be able 1x or 1.5x or 2x my leads through the retargeting, but wasn't doing that at the time.
Well, and that's just even more power to your story because I think a lot of people are in your situation, right? They're looking for extra cash flow. They already know that especially if they're going to arbitrage, like I've got to have $15,000, $20,000 put aside. Yeah. So now I'm having to spend money on Google ads and that can add up $200 per week, $1,000 per week. Before you know it, you're like, wow, I don't have a deal yet. And I've spent all this money on ads. So
that's right.
That's really powerful that you were able to do this without spending any money.
And historically, that stuff used to work a lot better. I'm not going to go ahead and say it doesn't work today, but our generation, the younger generations, call BS on ads quicker than the older generations did. So people are clicking on Google ads a lot less. Yeah. They're seen as not as trustworthy because you can pay to play to get there. Yeah. But there's something to be said about being in that top paid ad. And then as they scroll down, boom, you're the number one organic listing too. Now they're like, okay, they're legit. So
Oh
there's
yeah.
a
I mean,
caveat there. But if you rank for a paid ad and you don't show up anywhere else, you're suspect.
yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the choir right now. Every time I Google something, the first thing that says sponsored, I'm just not clicking on it because I just assume that it took some sort of keyword that I typed in there and was like, this is indirectly related in some way, somehow. But then you click on it and you're like, this has nothing to do with what I'm Googling. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
I love it, man. So you're teaching people how to do this,
Yeah.
and without us diving too deep into the secret sauce, I want to know what's give me a little bit of information about how you're teaching people and maybe some results that some of your students have gotten.
Yeah, so it's basically walking people through the whole process of setting this up. The reason I kind of did this is because of what we've just talked about. Like I want to help people out, and I want them to understand that you don't need a pocket full of cash to get started, to get leads, to build this business and create really a whole different life through SEO and being able to do it.
Yeah.
Number two, SEO is not that hard. It's just most people just don't know what they don't know. And it's very simple process and certain steps that you can take. So I realized that if I can just guide people along the process, they can do this themselves. Being in this industry too, on the marketing agency side, I've had too many friends and too many people be like, "Oh yeah, I was paying this guy $1,500 a month, and he didn't do anything, whether it was domestic or overseas or what have you." And I was like, send me what they're doing and I'll go through it. And then I'm like, dude, they're not even doing anything for you. Like, this is a bunch of crap. And that was another reason I kind of started the course, because people go, oh, okay, I got to do SEO. Let me go on Upwork and find someone. Not to say there aren't good people out there. I just know that SEO can be hard to track without the right metrics, without the right KPIs. And if you don't know, then you don't know. So it's just hard to get your money's worth if you're not familiar with the KPIs that you need to track someone's progress that you're paying. Therefore, I said, why don't I just show people how to do this? They can do it in their spare time. They can have their wife do it who's at home, or whatever the situation may be, or a VA. You can have your VA learn it and do it however you want to do it. I just wanted to provide a resource to show people step by step how to create what I created.
That's awesome. So this is essentially a self-study course that they can become an SEO expert, but you also have kind of a done for you if someone doesn't have the time or doesn't want to rely on their wife or their VA to do it, right?
Yeah, so we're just recently launching that because I've gotten a lot of feedback from people who've already been in the game who are like, "Yeah, this stuff's gold. I don't want to do it." And I'm like, I'm like, fair enough. So yeah, we will be offering a done for you SEO service where I will take everything that you're looking for. We would sit down, have a conversation about your business, your area, and then I would kind of design a sort of SEO plan for you, and we would track it and all that stuff. So
awesome. So guys, here's the key here. If any of this is speaking to you, you're going to want to go to SEO4STR.com/Kyle. And the /Kyle is key because we're going to tell you why in a second here. But again, SEO for FOR, not the number 4, but SEOFORSTR.com/Kyle. And by going to that site, Tristan, and using the coupon code fearlesskyle, what can they get with that?
they will get 15% off
Awesome.
of all that stuff there. Yep.
Awesome. So if you use that link, and I'm putting this, by the way, in our comments right now, and that code fearlesskyle, by the way, all lowercase, then you will get 15% off either the course or the done for you site, which is pretty awesome. So thank you for offering that to our audience, Tristan.
Of course. Absolutely.
Awesome. Now, I did say I wanted to come back to one topic here because I think it's important. You are the one that has scaled down the most based on conversations that I've had with people in the industry. We're actually very similar in the fact that we've scaled down. I had about 70 properties in 3 different markets last year. Now we're in 2 different markets and down to about 50 properties. But you said you went from 34 to 13 and you haven't seen any change in your income. That's powerful. Can you talk to me a little bit about that transition and maybe some of the fears that you went through and like, oh man, letting go of properties, that feels wrong. Was there any sort of like that talk in your head?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, to this day, I'm like, did I make the right decision? But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there was just some, a few of them were just not great owners to work with. They
Mm.
were, for whatever reason, just not a good fit for us. And I realized that after having conversations with you and with other people, of, really what a healthy business relationship looks like, and like how your life should look as well, like your personal time, getting away from people, shutting your phone off or putting it on DND, after your working hours, and having that nighttime with your family. For some owners, they're like, that's unacceptable. And I'm like, well, then this is not a good fit. With others, it was just the properties. And anyone who's in, Scottsdale, Phoenix can tell you the market boomed for
Yeah.
short-term rentals. Everybody and their brother was like, I'm going to go buy one. And they weren't all the same. Some were fantastic and were lots of bedrooms, can have lots of people. But others were just like a 3-2 down by Old Town where there's 6,000 others, no pool, it's just very cookie cutter. And so when I was young and when I was, hungry and young in the business, I just took all those leads and turned them into deals.
Yeah.
Thinking hey, I'm doing it, baby. We're winning.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, okay, after peak season, so February, March, April, after those, when we did really well, I was like, okay, here comes summer. And now I was answering all these tough questions of like, why aren't we renting out? I'm, doing everything I can. We're adjusting prices, changing listings, doing everything I've been taught to do, and we're just not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And the competition was just fierce. So I realized I was spending too much time like driving to properties and, doing too much myself. And if I paid someone to do it, now I was losing a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So it just didn't make a lot of sense to keep these properties on. I parted ways with almost all of them, mutually and peacefully. And they still hit me up with questions here and there. Some I said, honestly, you're better off self-managing. Here's a step-by-step process of what you need to be successful. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'm happy to help you. But just, yeah. So that was just kind of the whole process that I took.
For someone new right now that's listening to this, that, maybe they're listening, they're like, oh, do I need to be really particular about those deals? Do you look back at that and say, I wish I wouldn't have taken on those 21 that I ended up offloading, or would you go and do the same thing again?
I mean, I think there's a lot you can learn in all this experience.
Yeah.
You need to learn, what your ideal owner is. And without getting a total jerk, you don't really know, or maybe you do. And I was just a one-off, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think some of them I made a mistake and I probably shouldn't have, but a lot of them I did learn something. Some of them I helped build from the construction phase up, and realized it just was a horrible investment on the owner's behalf. And so there was a few of those situations. I mean, I would say it's important, if you're just getting started, to go out and get those deals. Obviously the numbers need to make sense, and if a red flag goes up big time, whether it's the owner or the property, trust your gut, or talk to people in your network, bring it to a mentor. There's lots of different ways to help vet those deals. So bring it to someone with experience. Say, what do you think about this? I kind of, without letting you know my bias, or I want you to tell me what you feel about this deal. Most people in this industry are going to help you. But that being said, I think there's so much to learn in all these experiences, good or bad, especially the bad.
I think we get so caught up in like, well, the reason that we get mentorship and the reason that we buy a course and the reason that we watch these YouTube videos and everything is so that we don't make mistakes. And that's not it. It's so that we make less mistakes and get to our goals faster. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't make mistakes along the way, because mistakes are where we make a lot of our strides into learning what we do like and what we don't like. One of the things that I know is I might talk to an owner and be like, heck no, I don't want to work for this person. But then someone else is like, I'll take them on all day long. Like, you don't know what your appetite is for risk, or for issues, for overbearing owners, for ginormous properties or small properties. You don't know until you actually get in there. So I always take that advice with a grain of salt. When someone tells me like I wouldn't do that deal, I'm always going to ask like, well, why wouldn't you do it? And if I feel like I've got an opportunity to learn from the reasons that they don't want to do that deal, I'm probably going to still do it. I remember my first flip that I did, not even STR related. My first flip I did, everyone was like, don't do it. It's too risky. And I'm like, no, I know that I know these numbers really well. This is a low risk deal and I'm going to learn a lot. And sure enough, like, I only made $5,000 on the flip, but I learned so much. Yeah. And I was so dead set on like, I know that the experience I'm going to get from this is going to far outweigh what I may or may not lose. So I look at your situation, man, and I'm like, I don't think that you would be where you're at today if you hadn't have gone through all the shit, and to me, that's giving you more clarity to be more advanced in your business now than maybe making those mistakes in year 3 or year 4 of your business now.
Yeah, especially with the grind. I mean, getting to 34 and multiple, a bunch of them were under construction at the same time, just running from property to property all day, and then getting behind in so much of my work and being up till 2 a.m, like catching up. Like you learn really, really fast that, okay, I need help. I got to hire somebody, or you learn something that you need to move forward in the business, like how to hire someone, how to lead them, how to, manage them. Like something will come out of that lesson for sure.
Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here with Tristan. But once again, if you are ready to learn how to get leads really for no money, close to a fraction of the time that you would spend on all of the cold calling and networking that a lot of us teach, and just having this endless flow of leads coming in, you're definitely going to want to go and check out the SEO for STR links that he has there for either doing it for you or going through the self-study course. Again, that link is SEOforstr.com/Kyle. Tristan, where else can people find you on social media, your website? What other links do you have for people to check you out?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, Tristan Petricca. So Instagram's going to be at Tristan Petricca, Facebook's /Tristan Petricca. So I'm on those. My business website is Sojourn Properties, SOJOURNAZ.com. If you want to kind of see the website that I built and how that's kind of working and how that flows, you can just Google Sojourn Properties or type in that URL. And otherwise, SEO for STR.
Awesome. Tristan Petricca, thank you so much for helping our audience to conquer the world of SEO in short-term rentals. You got a couple minutes to stay behind for answering some questions in our live group?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Guys, once again, this is a no-brainer. Go check it out. SEOforstr.com/Kyle. Use that coupon code fearlesskyle. You're the only ones getting this opportunity. Tristan doesn't give a 15% coupon to anyone else out there. Go check it out. And if you have someone on your team or if you have the time, go get that course and become an SEO expert and learn how to be able to get these leads coming in your way. But if you don't know how to do that, or you don't want to take the time and you want to kind of just streamline this, then go ahead and get Tristan's team hired so that you can bring them in and you can start seeing the results right away. So that's going to do it for us here on the Fearless Investor Podcast. We're helping you to conquer the world of short-term rentals. We'll see you next time.